Hello, we are here today as the Collective Intelligence Consultancy. We formed our agency to give access to SMEs, the kind of leadership, financial leadership that they wouldn't have access to ordinarily. And that's to help them have a competitive advantage, because we firmly believe that financial strategy is a game changer, and why shouldn't everyone have access to that? We're going to talk you through some of the issues and problems we see in businesses on a daily, weekly basis, and try and give you some of the tools that you'll need to get out of some of those issues and problems. But to make it fun, we're going to talk about animals and liken it to animals and try and make it engaging for you. So we have got with us today Kim and Calvin.
Hello.
Hello. And I'm Kelly. And as I said, together we form the Collective Intelligence Consultancy, firmly believing that 3 heads are better than 1. And, you know, we know what good looks like. And we want to bring that to everybody and let you have access to that. So where should we kick off in our 5 animals we've got to talk about in our pack of animals?
Yeah. So I guess the context behind it, just to create the picture, was finance is really boring at the best of time. And actually it takes really special people to step into a business and make it exciting and seeing things in a slightly different way. And I think using a metaphor is always to our advantage, particularly when we're communicating with non-finance people in the business space. And what was it, a few weeks ago, we actually huddled around a table thinking, actually, there's, big 5 issues. If we can identify big 5 issues in a workplace, and actually address those, how quickly a business can move forward. And it kind of stumbled onto, let's talk about the big 5. Why not? And hence why, obviously, now we have the metaphor with talking about the big 5 and actually how does that translate into the business world, and actually how those 2 worlds coexist and show similar patterns and behaviors.
I think it's the overlap between business and nature. And I'm a big fan of Charles Darwin, and I always use it with my clients. My clients always throw it back to me. And it's that ability to change. It's the ability to adapt, because everyone wants to thrive. Everyone wants to succeed, whatever their definition of success is. But to do that, the world is changing. People are changing. The planet's changing. And I think the best example of how to respond to change can come from nature. And it can come from the animal kingdom, it can come from the plant kingdom. So I think what we're trying to do here is to show that overlap between what can we learn from animals in terms of what they do well and what their challenges and limitations are. And what do we see in our years and decades of experience of when we work with entrepreneurs, leadership teams, businesses, whether they be small and scaling or where we've trained in the big corporates. What are those challenges and what are the options available when you get stuck, when you can't see the wood from the trees, when you say, I plateaued here, I've hit my head against the same brick wall, what can I do there? What we're going to try and do here is make it fun, make it visual, and say, what happens in the animal kingdom? How does that overlap with the businesses? And where might I be? Where might my business be in this landscape of the big 5? Because we're big lovers of nature. We're big lovers of safari. And I think if you can see the big 5, you can contrast and compare them. You can learn from that.
Definitely got a lot to learn for sure. And I think it's so true. You often in businesses, you get real pivotal moments where people get stuck, right? And we have to help businesses get out of that situation and move forward, because you can't stay still. As you've explained, the world is ever changing, and ultimately success, it only comes by moving forward. Sometimes that's making mistakes and moving forward. Sometimes it's adapting to your environment, adapting to what's going on internally, but it is, adapt and evolve to thrive. Absolutely.
I think we were talking to a client the other day about what life looked like in 2019, which to some people feels like yesterday and some people is a lifetime ago. But 2019 was pre-COVID, pre-remote working to some, pre-AI, where big tech is taking us, pre-trillionaire people on the planet. It was a different world back then. And the amount that's changing, and I think those are some of the topics that are going to come up today, is what has changed, what is changing, because when it's changing at a faster rate. Therefore, you need to move at a faster rate. You need to think at a faster rate. You need to be able to react, and not just react, be proactive as well, and see what's coming on the horizon. And hopefully some of the thoughts we can share today in terms of what we've seen in the past, what we're seeing now, what we expect from the future, can help some of those businesses and individuals unlock some of their own thinking.
Well, I definitely think it's that advice, isn't it? What got you here won't get you there. It's as simple as that. And 2019 was a different world.
Yeah.
And 2026 is a crazy year. So, if you think about what we've experienced in the economy, what we've experienced as global shocks, geopolitical issues hitting us that would never have, never really washed up on UK shores or European shores, it is impacting business, and AI is impacting business. And, we're weirdly at a pivotal moment, I think, with AI in development for businesses and what that means. And people are scared, right? They're scared for jobs, or they're scared about how it's going to impact their business, don't want to get left behind, but don't know how to adopt it, and that's not just AI. There's lots of technical changes or, and development changes that we're going to have to look at in order to move forward. Pivotal moment for us, pivotal moment for businesses. So it's a great time to actually stop and reflect, isn't it? And go, where's the future? What does it look like? How can we best be prepared for that future? Because, that's prepare to, if you don't prepare, you're prepared to fail, right?
Yeah.
So
failure to prepare is to prepare for failure.
Yeah. And that's what we teach the kids, isn't it? And actually failing is first attempt in learning in our house. So it's all of these.
I love that.
Yeah, first attempt in learning, actually. Put an acronym or a metaphor to it, we're going to be okay, aren't we?
We're going to have a few of those today.
We've got a few of those today, exactly. So we'll take you through those. And as we say, we're going to make it a little bit animal themed just to make it more interesting, because 3 accountants talking about finance is not going to get those subscribers.
Just a thought, would it be useful for us to share, whether it's our background or what we do in businesses before we dive into the big 5? Because, I just think we're sharing, the Collective Intelligence Consultancy, and we're diving into the big 5. But I wonder if there isn't a gap that's saying why we are qualified to share our insights with the big 5 and how that, or what we've seen in the business and how it translates.
Why should people bother listening to this?
Exactly. Yeah. Why are we the experts, or why should our opinion matter or take up the 30, 60 or 90 minutes of their lives that they'll never get back? Right?
Go for it.
Yeah. I don't even know where to begin. I've thrown that question. I was hoping to throw one of you into the deep end, and here I am needing to swim.
I think for me, to answer that question, I think it's, we talked about how much experience we have around the table of working in all kinds of size businesses. We counted it. It was about 100 years worth of experience, isn't it? We are expensive hires, so there's a lot of value in what we do, and people, value that, and that's means we've been around the block, right? There's a lot of battle scars that we've had, and we've seen businesses go from startup to exit over that period. So I think there's try and pack 100 years of experience into that answer is quite tricky, but I have seen businesses go from thriving to just about surviving. I've seen businesses go under, and we've exited shareholders, we've brought shareholders in, we've restructured teams. There's a lot of experience in that, and it's cross-sector, because actually when we've boiled it down right, we see the same issues time and time again. And that's really valuable for those businesses. What is it? 75% maybe don't have any financial leadership, maybe don't even have an on-site accountant, somebody to actually help them with that visibility over numbers. It's really important. We want to give that access to our listeners, followers, because we have got those battle scars.
Yeah, we do.
I think it's fair to say we've set up this consultancy from a point of difference where we've acted as fractional CFOs and COOs for many years. And we've been lone wolves, learning from businesses, sharing our experience, cherry picking what works, what doesn't work, so that businesses don't have to hit the same icebergs. They don't have to get the same bruises on the knee. And I think that's valuable in itself. But there are many people who've got that same experience. So what's our point of difference? I think identifying that we've come together because we want to do it slightly differently. We're doing it because we enjoy what we do. We come together because we're a group of friends and we enjoy working with each other. And we want to work with businesses that we want to work with and want to work with us. We don't want to work with businesses necessarily that feel that they have to work with us. If that's the case, then very quickly that has to move to actually, we enjoy your company, we enjoy having you around, and you enjoy it because we're adding value. And we want to work with businesses where we can truly add value. And I think over our careers, we've probably turned down as many opportunities as we've taken on because we didn't feel that we can add value. We're not the right person. There's not the right chemistry. There's not the right depth of experience that particular client might need. And I think we'll be that truthful, honest mirror back to the business, to the entrepreneur, to the leadership team to say, we think we're right because we can help you here, and here. You've said A, B, and C, but you haven't mentioned D, E, and F. Because quite often we'll get involved in businesses. We'll lift up the rocks. We'll have a look. We'll have a chat. We'll run workshops. We'll talk to people. We'll listen. And then we'll say, you haven't mentioned this, and this. That's, you thought that these are your biggest issues or your biggest opportunities. But actually, we think there's a huge opportunity here, or there's a huge fire in the corner over here.
Yes.
We need to put that out. So I think what we're trying to do as a boutique consultancy is to have fun, bring value, and work with businesses so that we can bring our experience, we can bring our thought processes, which isn't just about what we learned in the past, bring it here. It's about what's coming down the track, what's on the horizon, where are those icebergs? Can we navigate the pathway around it? Can we do that in an independent, objective way? Because one of the things we'll talk about is that sometimes there is a lack of independence on small leadership teams and a lack of sometimes confidence to challenge. We will challenge, but we call it iron fist, velvet glove. We hit hard with our thoughts, we hit hard with our opinions, but we don't look to bruise. We put that velvet glove on because there's no point hitting hard and people putting up the brick wall, getting defensive. People need to hear what you're saying. There's no point us saying something if people immediately get defensive on that. So we will try to deliver the tough messages, but in a way that's digestible and say, okay, I don't like what I'm hearing here, but actually I hear what you're saying.
I think a lot of what you said there, for me, resonates with the word trust, because we work with people that we trust and they work with us because they trust us, right? And our credentials, which you can all look up, speak for themselves, but ultimately we have the trust of the CEO, or we have the trust of the owner-manager, or the trust of the leadership team, and it's striving to be the best version of ourselves that we can be, and let other people be the best version of themselves that they can be. And if you're going to deliver an iron fist in a velvet glove approach, there's got to be trust. The person receiving that has got to know, oh my God, you've really got my best intentions at heart. You've raised something that I've been ignoring. And now it's come to the fore and we're going to have to deal with that. And it comes down to trust. I think you're right. I've turned down a lot of roles because I didn't feel that relationship balance was there and it wasn't going to be right. And therefore, who wants to push water uphill with a spoon? And you know that you're probably not going to succeed in those situations. But ultimately, when it is right and the chemistry is right and the trust is on both sides, my God, it's transformative, and you really see. And sometimes it's transformative over things that are really tough, but other times it's transformative over things that are really good and really exciting and take that business, move 4 places in the game forward, then, by that strong team and that strong union that you've got. But it's trust.
Yeah. Can I build on I guess, what I want to say, kind of stepping into the space, and as we started the consultancy, we try to define who we are and what we bring to the table. And I think there was a lot of conversations around, we're more than just a CFO. We do so much more in a business because we truly care for the value that we bring. And that doesn't just sit in one lane or in one silo. And I think we actually got to a point where we rebranded ourselves as CFOs because, the value, and this is how I try explain it to, my clients or people, that I have conversations with, finance is after the equal signs, right? And historically in any business, you build a finance function because there's a regulatory requirement that's needed. You need to submit things, on Companies House or wherever you're required from a tax perspective, et cetera, et cetera. And I think a lot of the times, particularly in those SMEs or those smaller agencies, finance is still very much viewed in that lens. It becomes a reporting functionality. And in today's world, as soon as you have something that isn't driving value, that's where you start seeing how big a cost it is. And it almost, I think, across our careers, we've gone, we're more than that and we do more than that. And actually, if you go before the equal sign, 1 + 1, finance is what kind of ends up downstream. But actually, if you step into those strategy shoes, the operational shoes, and spaces where you can actually influence based on the information and the knowledge you've seen from a financial perspective or what you can read or interpret from the data, you have a much higher impact within the business and you have a much higher influence before it actually, reaches after the equal sign. So 1 + 1 eventually does equal 3, right? But you need to know where to influence and where to interject. And going back then to, when I said we kind of rebranded ourselves as CFOs, it doesn't mean that we've lost that CFO hat and bringing that financial rigor and that financial strategy to the table. What it means is we use that and also then step into spaces where we support leadership teams, owners, CEOs, whoever it might be sitting across the table from us, in order to influence the business in the right places so they get, whatever is after the equal sign from a KPI, from a metric perspective that they're after, they're able to achieve it a lot quicker, faster, or at least have a way of how we're planning to achieve it. And that's effectively the journey that we go on with clients, is we don't just stay in our lane, we support across multi-functions because it's important to understand where to influence the business at what points in order to drive that value.
I think it's a really good point. There are some really good finance people out here who are really good at finance. And I think our point of difference is we see where finance interacts with strategy, which interacts with operations, because if you can't drive operational change, you can't change the outcome in the finance. Finance at the end of the day is an outcome.
Yeah.
We use it to fuel growth. We use it to provide the cash flow and the working capital. But a lot of finance measures, whether it be profit or margin or EBITDA or whatever you want to look at, they tend to be outcome. They can tend to be lag indicators. And I think our focus is very much on what are the lead indicators? What does the marketing pipeline look like? What's going on in new business? What's your churn rate? What's your attrition rate on talent? So we're looking at the people, we're looking at the operations, looking at the processes, the systems. How does AI impact there? And therefore, how does strategy plus finance plus operations together? To me, that's how we get that equation of 1 + 1 = 3. And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. It's that under the bonnet approach, isn't it? And like, okay, you asked me to look at that section, but I can't. I've got to go and look over there to fix that bit before the car then works and gets on the road, right?
Yeah.
And I use that analogy all the time. Actually, we use car analogies quite a lot, don't we? Who's driving? Who's the passenger? Does the car work? Have we got 4 tires?
Do we know where we're going?
Who's
got the map?
Who's got the map? Exactly that, right? So I think it's so important. And in small businesses, people wear lots of hats, right? So the CEO has to wear a lot of hats. And, I really have huge respect for CEOs now to be on that, having started our own business and realizing what CEO hats are like and how heavy they are and all the different things you have to think about. And to some extent and purposes, the CFO has become that equivalent, right? It's a little touch of CEO, it's a little touch of chief financial officer. It's a little touch of COO. It's leading SLTs or, and making sure everyone pulls in the same direction. Actually, we use boat analogies as well a lot, don't we?
We do. Loads of
We use a lot of
analogies.
analogies.
But that's a nice segue actually into our big five analogy.
It is.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So back to our animals, our safari animals, because, we love an animal and we love a comparison with nature. Shall we start off with our lions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely lions.
Do you want to identify the big five, or should we just?
Yeah, we probably should identify the big five, shouldn't we? Yeah, let's identify the big five. Okay, so we have our lions.
We do.
We have our rhinos. We've got the buffaloes.
We do.
We have our elephants. And we've got our leopards. That's our big five.
Not everyone gets the big five right.
No.
Oh,
no.
well, okay. I've been well trained.
You have.
Yeah.
Been conditioned in safari, clearly.
You studied well.
I tried, exactly. But when we were talking about this, when we got together several weeks ago and we started talking about the challenges that businesses face, because this is what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to give you that advice that we've seen previously so that it can help you identify where you are and the challenges you might be facing. When we got to really boiling that down at that last session that we had, it was almost comical, wasn't it? Because this is like, some of these animals are really elusive. Some of these problems are really elusive. Some of these problems are really difficult to solve. And actually there was a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
And we want to make it engaging. That's,
Absolutely.
it's got to be. So that's our big five. That was our thinking behind it.
Yeah.
And we hope that you're going to find these next five discussion points quite interesting and give you food for thought.
Food for thought.
Which is a metaphor.
It is.
It's a metaphor, not an analogy. Okay, so start with the lion, or do you want to start somewhere else?
No, I think the lion is a good starting point.
Lion's a good starting point.
It is.
Yeah. I'm going to look at, I'm going to say the male of the herd.
Male of the herd.
Pride. Male of the pride.
Yeah.
We'll get onto herds later.
Yeah, we'll get onto herds later. Okay, go. Okay.
I wonder how much we're going to get into that male-female bit because of the of where nature takes it.
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
it does exist in the lions. I mean, obviously, lions, king of the jungle, or queen of the jungle, I would say, because it really is the females of the lion kingdom that rule the roost in terms of looking at bringing on the cubs, hunting for food. The males have got it easy. They really do.
There's another analogy here that I don't think was intended.
But I think where do we start with the lion in terms of it's all about developing and growing the pride, and the pride starts small and it grows, and you can get prides of up to 30, 40 lions that need feeding, and the bigger the pride, the more food you need, and the more territory you need. And lions are all about protecting their territory, making their kills to feed their pride and growing their pride. And the overlap to me to business is very, very clear there. It's that SMEs and entrepreneurial SMEs, those that we love working with because they're challenging, they're fun, they're frustrating, all of those emotions. They go on those similar journeys. They start off small. They're around the kitchen table, or they're 3 people or 1 person or 5 people, but they start off at a very small stage, in the way that a lion's, literally a male and a female come together, have a cub, suddenly that's the start of their pride. And then the sisters get involved, and then maybe a brother would get involved. Suddenly a business is looking to go on that journey. And that territory bit of what is that business looking to achieve? What is its strategy? What is the value it's bringing to its client base, its customer base, and therefore how can it expand it? And what's the limitation on its territory as well? Because the lions, if they're not successful, the pride will shrink, and then if a business is not successful, then the business will shrink. It won't be able to attract the best clients. It won't be able to attract the best talent. And to me, that's part of the the driving strategy, the aspirational strategy of most SMEs that I've worked with over the last 20 years or so, is they're looking to be that destination place for the best clients, for the best talent, so that they can bring them on board. If you've got the right people who interact in the right way, and you've got a product or suite of services that add value, then people want to deliver those services. People want to come and buy those services because it's adding value to their business. So to me, the crossover of trying to develop the pride is really a keen overlap for the business, and you can visualize that journey that a business goes on. So as it gets bigger, you go from that 5-person people around the kitchen table, you're suddenly a 30-person business or now a 50-person business. You can't go out there and kill a mouse to eat. You can't go out there and win a £1,000 contract. You now need that £100,000 contract. You need that £500,000 contract. We talk about those pillar clients. How many pillar clients does a business of a certain size need? How many secondary clients does it need to bring in and sustain that? What does the sales and marketing pipeline need to look like? What's the conversion rates of bringing those in? Yeah. What's the conversion rates on a pride going hunting? Because every time a pride goes hunting, whether it's the males or the females or a combination, they're not always successful. Businesses are not always successful when they go hunting as well.
No. And actually, when you talk about growth and you talk about expansion, or you go out and talk about the hunt, right, comes massive operational complexity. But, it's very simple running 5 people around a kitchen table. It's a completely different headache running 30 people around a much larger table, and then 50 people, and then 100 people. Sadly, with the growth of the business and the success of the business comes headaches and problems and infrastructure issues and points where you struggle, right? And you need to know what to do next in order to unlock that, because we always say what got you here won't get you there. Yeah. That's and that, being able to understand that. We talked yesterday, didn't we, about pride as a two meaning word, right? So you have the pride pack of lions out hunting, but we also talked about that as a bit of a human downfall, bit of an issue sometimes in leaders.
Pride comes before a fall.
Yeah.
I think yesterday, or when we had spoken about it, it was identifying that in a lot of these businesses that have gone from 5 people sitting around the kitchen table through to 30 people, more often than not, there is dependency on 1 or 2 people within an agency. And more often than not, it is the owner or the entrepreneur that started it, or somebody that has come along in those early days of the journey and has effectively cultivated and grown an awesome service with great people, an awesome culture, being able to bring in the feeds as often as needed. And that's actually allowed that growth and has gotten them to that point. But then there's almost that point in a journey where the entrepreneur, the senior person wants to step back. They constantly the bottleneck. Everything needs to go through them. There's that element where you have a 30-person business and you ask yourself, why does it always sit on my desk? Why is it always coming to me? I've got really smart people around the table, and you almost feel like as much as you're a blocker, you also need to step in and help, and we kind of, or at least the idea and the analogy with the lion and the pride, the flip side of the coin is going, every lion has a role to play within the pride, and each of them trust one another to deliver that role. And actually, in nature, it's really, I say it's easy, like I'm a lion and I know, but I think it's inherent that they understand what their role is. As you grow into it, they through their journey and through their growth, they understand. In today's world, the market is moving so quickly and businesses are needing to react and respond that sometimes the role or responsibility gets diluted, or something needs to happen much faster than the business can actually keep up. And what ends up happening is that there isn't clarity on who's doing what anymore because you did it last time and I'll pick it up this time because we're so busy trying to find our next kill that we're just bypassing and we're almost in that fight or flight or that fire. What's it? That everything's on fire. What is that saying?
I liken it to a hamster wheel, where you just have to
you just
continuously running, right? And then things are just spinning off the hamster wheel because you're running so far, but you run to keep up, don't you? And if you have a bottleneck and everything's centralized through the main owner or the main, CEO, that becomes a problem. And you need a solution for that. You need to know how you're going to get out of that pivotal moment, that stuck situation. Get off the hamster wheel.
The crisis management, that's what I was getting to. Because you almost go into crisis management mode where everything is a fire that I need to put out. So you become reactive as opposed to strategic. Yeah. So linking back to, a pride, for me it is about, how do you create that trust from that CEO, the owner, the entrepreneur, and actually build that trust and have that trust with a team underneath them that is capable and willing and wanting and is hungry to do it. So how do you create that trust? But similarly, if you're in that position, the flip side and probably the darker side of the pride is the individual's pride, right? Going, I'm an owner. I've done this for the past 15 years. I've grown it from 5 to 30. What does it look like if I'm not the one fixing things? What is my role if I were to take a step back and not be the go-to person that knows all the answers because I've been here from day one? And it's almost, there is an element of going, it's uncomfortable for that person to acknowledge, I want to step away. I don't know how to step away and I don't know what I'm stepping into and I might need support in that. And I think that's the other side is just having that reflective moment, that self-awareness, whatever it looks like, going, what is better for the business? How can I empower my team? And that might be hand in hand, me saying, I do need to step back, but this is what's holding me back from doing it. And having that support with not letting your pride or your ego play a part in possibly holding the team or the business back.
And we talked, didn't we, at the start about, where we've been in our careers and the things that we've done and, what makes us the experts. And I think we handhold a lot of our clients and a lot of senior managers through that situation. We are the hand to hold, the shoulder to lean on, cry on, wipe away the tears when it's really tough. But there are, those transition periods that owners go through and they need that support. And we started this business because we were lonely. We were lonely on our own. We didn't feel that was something that we wanted to do anymore. And now we're kind of going, oh, you're also really lonely, right? Because who have you got to share that with? Yeah, I don't want to be made uncomfortable. This is my business and I don't want to give it up. Or what do I do if I do give that bit up? What's the new me? Those are all transitional periods where you do need someone to be your wing person and to give you that support, to give you that hand to hold, to say, I've seen this before, or you know what, actually I haven't seen it before, but I know someone that has, and get you the right support at the right time so that you can be the best version of yourself.
You're right. We're forming our own pride here. We're learning as we're going.
Yes.
And I think we're still working out our own roles because we've got a lot of things that we overlap and we've got similar experiences and we've got particular areas that we've had experience of in the past. We've seen things that have been slightly different and we've got those areas where we're looking to cover our own blind spots. And I think that goes back to the pride of lions as well. When they go hunting for that kill, for that next new business, is they're covering each other's blind spots. They're not all chasing the ball in a very different analogy. World Cup season here.
Kids football.
Having watched England beat Croatia last night. We're not. The Lions don't chase the ball. What they do is they have their roles, as you talked about, and it's understanding their roles, understanding their individual and collective strengths. What's my role in the team? Yeah. Not what's my role for myself. We're going through that learning now, and it's fun and it's challenging, and we're learning as well. The other point that came to mind as I was just listening to you there was the absolute need for communication. If you've had the privilege of being close to a lion, particularly a male lion, when they are communicating to their pride and the pride is a mile or two away, it's guttural. They are They are communicating loudly. They're communicating clearly. I don't know what they're saying. I'm feeling it. It's like having bass go through your complete body when that lion is 30 yards away and it's communicating to its pride, to its brother, to its cubs, and to the females. It's basically saying, and this is where the ranger was either making it up or translating, basically saying, I found a good place for us to camp tonight. Bring the pride over here. It was clear communication. It was loud communication. And I think there's a lot to learn from the need there. If you are the leader of a pride, whether that's as an individual or as a team, you've got to communicate loudly. You've got to communicate clearly. And you've got to explain, I don't know how much that male lion was explaining why they should go there, or probably say, just get over here. We got a watering hole here, and there's a big herd of buffalo just down there. So get your butts over here now. Or whether you're saying, actually, you might want to come over here because. Yeah, and there's different ways of communicating, as we know, and there's a different time for a different style of communication. But that was again the analogy that comes to mind of that lion, that overlap between the lions and the way that a business team operates and how the leadership needs to communicate, coordinate the team so that it's a high-performing team. Yeah. You don't want just a high-performing individual. You want a high-performing team.
That's what empowers owners to be able to step back, right, and give them the chance they need to take a breath and look for the next strategic maneuver that needs to be made. Because if you're constantly in the driving seat, you can't read the road ahead, and that's what takes you to stage 2, stage 3. So it's great communication, telling people roles and responsibilities, and seeding that into a way that's right for your business, without over corporatizing. Is that even a word? I just made it up. Yeah. If it isn't, I just made that up. But without, being able to put that into your pride, to your pack, and make your animals elite. Yeah. Okay. Anything else we want to say on lions?
I guess what are the so whats? What are the so whats from there? And there's been a few through it. I think there's the need for understanding the needs of your business as it expands. And the needs when you are a 30-person pride to a 3-person pride is quite different, and you need to operate differently. The communication that's required is different. Sitting around a kitchen table versus sitting across possibly, multiple countries, multiple, time zones, very different communication style. And it's recognizing that, adapting to what your need is going forward. And then that final bit of making sure the kills are appropriate to your pride. And I've seen many businesses that said, a year ago, that £10,000 piece of business, that £20,000 piece of business, that's our target market. But now your pride has doubled in size. Yeah. You now are a 50-person business, not a 25-person. So is that the right target market? Is that where you should be going? How does that impact your pricing? How does it impact your products? Yeah. How does that impact your services and the premium level that you're looking to portray to your clients? What's the value that you're bringing there? So I think there's some real learnings from how the male pride looks to survive and then thrive, and the same how a business should look to survive and then thrive.
Yeah, good lessons. Should we move on to our next animal in our big 5? Where would you like to go next? We've got we had buffalo, we've got elephant, we've got the rhino, which we've aptly named the chubby unicorn. Where would you like to go?
Should we do buffalo, I guess?
We'll do the buffalo. Let's do the buffalo. Okay. So it's a herd animal. They're obviously en masse, aren't they? And that comes with great strength for being in a herd. There's protection in numbers, there's protection in herd, but there's also some weaknesses in that, isn't there? In how that operates. So let's dive into buffaloes.
Or as my wife likes to say, the resting bitch faces of the savannah.
Yeah, you don't quite know what they're thinking, right? Just looking at you, going, I'm just going to assess you. Yeah.
I guess the starting point on Buffalo, and not everyone includes Buffalo in the big five, and it's the one that I think gets left off most people's lists when they say, what's the big five? Is it Cheetah or something like that? But Buffalo's in there because they used to be that years ago, decades ago, they were the trophy kill that hunters used to go looking for, and that was part of the big five there. But I guess the Buffalo with any way of living or surviving, there are learnings that work, and there are non-learnings that hold you back. And I think the sense of you are safer in a group, many people can resonate. We don't use the word safety, but we use the word enjoyment. We want to work together as a team rather than be out there by ourselves, where yes, it can be lonely. It can also be quite dangerous in the in the animal kingdom.
Lone wolves.
Wolves out there, and there is strength in a herd. And there is a lot of, if you take the positives, there's the ability to protect the young, to bring them through, to teach, to educate. It's in that business world, you can bring people through into the organization at a younger age, less experienced, and you can bring them through. You can educate. You can have training schemes. You can, as a sizable team, you can invest in that education and the time to develop into strong skills, so that those people can add value to your organization and to the clients and customers that you service. And the pride always is a matriarchy. It's got strong leadership by both the bulls and the females, and they got different roles. I remember seeing once where the pride of lions was hunting the herd of buffalo, and they'd identified a week-old female cow because she was slower than the rest of the herd. And they basically encircled the buffalo in a water hole. And when you're watching, you're never sure if you're team lion or team buffalo. And it's like, do I remain neutral? It's really hard to remain neutral when you see nature in its, I guess,
brutal moments,
brutal rawness. What it showed was that if there is definitely safety in being in numbers and being surrounded by people who are stronger than you, more knowledgeable than you, and other buffalo. And so the lions basically jumped on this buffalo.
This doesn't have a happy ending, does it?
Well, actually, it depends if you're a lion or a buffalo.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the herd moved on. The lions were all over the back, and there must have been 7 or 8 lions jumping on this buffalo thinking, you're gone. But within about 10 seconds, the main bull who led the herd basically turned around, said, I'm not having this. Got his brothers, cousins, whatever. I don't know what the gene pool was. And basically 20 buffalo came running back.
Oh, wow.
Straight at
the lions. Yeah, I wouldn't.
The lions saw them come and saying, do we finish the kill or do we? They legged it.
No way to bail. Yeah.
Never quite found out the ending, but what we saw was that the herd came back, protected the weaker one. The weaker one went with them. The ranger said, I think they've done enough damage that they'll probably finish it off later tonight.
Could you not have told me the nicer version? Come Team Buffalo.
My wife was the same.
Yeah.
She went from Team Lion to Team Buffalo. Team Lion had cubs to feed.
Oh, it's so tough.
Yeah, so
the animal world is so brutal, isn't it? So if that's the weakness then, right, the strength rather, you see the strength in the herd and the protection mechanisms and how you can support and you can grow and you can survive and thrive. There's got to be some weakness, right? Because everything's in balance. What do we think the weakness is?
We see this a lot in the workplace, or at least I believe the weakness is that everybody has herd mentality. Whether or not you have a different train of thought, whether or not you've got another way of doing it, whether or not you've got something that almost goes against the collective thinking, how do you show up? And do you have what I think at the moment is quite pivotal in any business moving forward is that psychological safety of being able to voice different trains of thought, different thinking, something slightly different in a way that everyone around the table isn't going to look at you and go, huh? Come again? And I think that's, if you constantly have that herd mentality, you never evolve. You never think out the box. You never have the best version of the individual showing up. You always have the average of the herd. And I think that in today's world, that is a dangerous space to play. You don't want to be average. You want to be exceptional. And how do you be exceptional? You create an environment where the team or those that you have cherry-picked to be part of your team have the space to show their best version, whether it's their experience, whether it's, workshopping and having that safety or, this is a really dumb idea, but, how often, I know particularly, when I was younger, I used to sit around the table and go, I might be completely off, guys, but have we thought about this? And a lot of the times it's those people in the room that say the things that others are too scared to voice. And imagine a world whereby everyone felt safe enough to voice their thoughts and the best version of themselves. And, what a powwow team, a powwow house you would have. And it's not to say, everything will be taken and everything will be accepted and adopted by the herd. But if there's a golden nugget there that's been overlooked and somebody's thought about it and they're sitting on it, you're never going to mine the golden nugget. It's just going to sit there and it's not actually going to materialize and you're never going to get the value from the individual sitting in the herd. You're only going to be the average of the herd as opposed to everybody bringing their best version. And then you're able to constantly evolve, to grow, to pick things.
I think you're so right. You have to have psychological safety. You have to have good governance in order to allow people to be the best version of themselves, to show up, give you an idea that's completely out of left field and you go, wow, we hadn't thought about that. Because you don't want a team of yes people. There's no friction, and friction's good for business. Friction is needed. Even if an idea is not quite going to land now, it might land in 6 months, or actually it's a real golden nugget. It needs work, right? Team, go off and come back to me with a plan of action of how you're going to deliver that, or what it looks like. Scope it out. Project it forward, because that constant evolve state has to come from somewhere, and it comes from people challenging, and it comes from people raising their hand going, hang on, I've had a good idea. So I think that's where we see the weakness, right? If you don't have that in your business and you don't have that to help you move into different states, move out of pivotal moments, then you're going to just recycle the same stuff. And as we've just said, the outside environment is changing.
You become irrelevant.
It potentially becomes irrelevant.
I think your point is a good one. It's groupthink is dangerous because it's the lemmings off the cliff.
Yeah.
One jumps off so that they all jump off.
Yeah.
And it's you can't. You need diversity of thought, diversity of opinion in a room. And that can be challenging. And not everybody...
Not always welcome.
Not always welcome.
No.
But in the right atmosphere, if the right environment is created to encourage people to actually constructively challenge, there's no point being destructive.
No.
Because, people are human. They're going to react in a human way. But if you're constructive and saying, actually, I know we were going to go to that pasture over there, but I've heard this pasture over here might be better. Go back to our buffaloes. Yeah. And, and if someone in the herd can say, actually, should we go in that direction? There might be good reason not to. But at least it's a new idea. And its ability to change. And the other thought coming through, and I know it's not part of the big five, but it's the HiPPO. is the HiPPO syndrome, which is highest paid person's opinion carries. And I've seen that multiple times in boardrooms, in leadership teams, where to me, the error made is that the CEO or whoever is leading the organization has the strongest voice, goes first every time. And people fold in and say, yes, what a great idea. Absolutely, let's do that. Or let's not do that. Great idea, let's not do that. To me, I've seen very strong outcomes come from teams where the leader goes last and the people are given the freedom to say what they truly think in a constructive way. And from that, the leader may actually disagree and may put their opinion and say, actually, I still think this. Or they may change their mind and say, actually, I hadn't thought of it in that way. Yeah. Or you're closer to that than me. Or, and it might just not be an individual. It might be a bigger team's talking into a small leadership team. But it's that ability to try to get away from following one person, one bull in that buffalo herd. And so that you can not just survive, but you can get back to thriving and identifying what your success factors are, and what do you need to change in order to change your organization? Because if you've got a success factor, which might be multiple things, it might be I want to exit for X million pounds, or I want to double the size of the organization in 2 years, or I want to deliver enough good in this area. If it's purpose driven, whatever your success factor is, that's a difference to what you're doing now. Therefore, you have to change.
Yeah.
So to deliver success, you have to change. Yeah. And to change, you need diversity of thought. And to get diversity of thought, you need to have an area which is safe for people to bring diversity of thought, and a receiving mechanism where people can actually hear it, listen to it, digest it, and act on it.
Yeah, I agree. Before we move on from Buffalo, there is one of the things probably that we haven't mentioned in terms of a bit of a weak spot for them. And we talked about, the resting bitch face and just chewing and looking. And we talked about the fact that yesterday they often will see the enemy on they see the lions on the horizon and they just stand there and wait and watch. Let's just see how they're going to maneuver. And we talked yesterday about how businesses can be very similar to that. There's competition on the horizon. There's an external threat on the horizon, but we're just going to sit and watch it. And we're not going to act on that. And we see that in the animal world, but we see it in business as well, don't we, as well, where people just won't move forward, or think it's just going to go away.
Yeah. It's so true. Where businesses can be very stuck on a certain strategy, certain business plan. This is what we put in our budget. This is what we put in our 5-year plan. This is the way we're going to go, and not react to changing environments. That's what are your competitors doing? How is technology changing? What's going on with governance across the world? What's happening with politics? Whether it's the macro level or the micro level. What's happening with the geopolitically, local tax situations? There's so much change out there, and therefore being wedded to a plan that you wrote in the past, whether it's near past or distant past, and not being willing to change is a threat. Is a threat to your business, because your plan was written without the knowledge of some of those changes. Yeah. Whether it's what is the impact of AI, how should we adopt it, how should we not adopt it, where should we use it, where shouldn't we? What's the changing world now? US is under a new administration. If you'd written your plan 2 years ago, you'd have a very different view on what the US administration was going to be doing. So, or where is technology going outside of AI, or what is with the Labour government and the tax changing to businesses and to individuals? How does that impact your plan? So there's a need to be reactive to change, and to be also proactive. You can't always just react to, hit that brick wall, change direction, go to the next brick wall. Sometimes you need to navigate a path that actually we can avoid all the brick walls here.
And I think that's the strength in fractional CFO territory, right? Because we don't sit in businesses all the time. So we do have an outside view, and then we go, did you know about this? And you bring that in, don't you? And you bring that external, it's like someone opening the door and letting the fresh air in.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, there's a breeze. Ah, yeah, just so you know as well, they're all standing outside waiting to shoot us. So it's being able to adapt to the external threat and know what the external threat is, because the hamster wheel's going, right? So they're all running around and going, oh my God, I've got all these things to deliver. I've got these clients to deliver. I've got to service clients, over Europe or America. Hamster wheel, hamster wheel, hamster wheel. And you don't realise, as you say, the environment's changed. Anything else we want to say on buffalo? Because we've still got some big animals to get through.
Yeah, I think we go to the next one.
We're good to the next one.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you like to go with the chubby unicorn, the rhino, or should we go to the elephants?
Can't remember what we said for the elephants.
Well, the elephant is your ecosystem.
I can't believe I forgot about the elephants.
Yeah.
This is like the one that I'm like,
talk about your farm.
I know.
I think this is a really good one for you to lead us on, because you have two lenses that you're going to share with us about the elephant. I think you should tell people, tell everyone.
So I think, let me start with my relationship with the elephant. It's love-hate. And I think it's actually a perfect start, because I do think for me, the elephant is the perfect paradox in how the world views it. It's that very romanticized lens and perspective, because, there's been a lot of poaching and there's been a lot of hunting and all of that around elephants for their ivory and. And that caused a massive uproar, rightfully so, globally. And from there, it's almost been let's protect the elephants. I've got a romantic view about the elephant because they're helpless if we can't protect them. That's on the one side. Flick to the other side and actually visit a game farm, a safari, wherever you go. Elephants are quiet. They're actually pretty destructive. And that in itself can be extremely dangerous. And I think the reality of having elephants, as part of the ecosystem.
Or so protected in the ecosystem.
So protected, thank you, in the ecosystem, I think creates almost a very difficult space for those living in those ecosystems. So I'll give you an example. In South Africa, my family's got a game farm, the border of South Africa and Botswana, and there's a lot of elephants and masses of herds of elephants that come across the river, the Limpopo River, from Botswana into South Africa. Now, for a tiny game farm that has thousands and hundreds of thousands of different animals, insects, things that are part of an ecosystem, when you have an overpopulation of elephants within a really restricted space, they end up destroying massive amounts of that ecosystem because they can. They'll go up to a tree and they'll rub against the tree, or they'll strip the bark, which, something as simple as how many insects live in the bark, something as simple as that versus bumping an entire tree over and the roots are uprooted, and there we go. Say goodbye to the nests that maybe the birds are using, or snakes that live there, or little bugs or whatever that might exist within that particular ecosystem. And I say that's why the elephant for me is a love-hate, because there's this romanticized view based on the hardship that has undergone the elephant and that specific species. But the reality of not having an ecosystem in balance is actually quite
dangerous.
Catastrophic.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the message of saying there's a time and space to have everything part of an ecosystem, but it has to be in balance. Mm-hmm. And if it's not in balance, something's got to give somewhere. Something's going to die. Something's going to, something's got to give. And for me, that is exactly the same in the work environments or in a business space. Whether or not we like it, a business is a thriving ecosystem. everybody needs each other. Everybody has a role to play. Everybody has a specific task they need to do, whether that's back end, whether that's, client facing, whether that's leading, whether that is delivering, whatever that looks like, it is all part of an ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And when you have these external factors, the elephant in the room, is it AI? Yeah. What is it today that actually is the elephant in the room? And that elephant could genuinely be different depending on the business or the organization. It could be, we've grown too quickly and we've bitten off more than we can chew. We don't know how to handle going from 5 to 30 in 3 months. Mm-hmm. We don't have the infrastructure to support us. Actually, everything is out of balance. It could be AI coming and actually the business doesn't have a plan. And I'm reacting to the market, and therefore I'm going to, make really difficult decisions with my people because I'm getting external pressures, to reduce my cost base because, my hunt and what I'm bringing in to feed my pride, it's not there anymore.
Loss of clients, loss of industry,
exactly.
Loss of market, right? Because something's been shut down because of geopolitical reasons.
And I think what ends up happening is that people react to those kinds of pressure by saying, my biggest cost base is my people line. I'm going to make really difficult decisions around my people, and AI is going to plug that gap. Mm. But actually, there's no plan. And there is time and space for the elephant in the ecosystem, but it's not the whole ecosystem. Things fall, things break, things don't operate the way they should.
Having a romanticized view about that ecosystem, right? And we've said that before, like, maybe what got you here and how good it was is now not the thing that's going to take you forward. You've got to change. Kim's a great lens changer. Anyone who wants a lens change, she'll give you that. But that's what you have to do in your business. You have to be able to view it differently, right? And to see those challenges. Interestingly, you said there about the elephant in the room, because we talked about this yesterday, didn't we? It's like the pride of the lions has got 2 meanings. Elephants has got 2 meanings for us. We should probably have a little quick chat about elephant in the room and how we help challenge those things. Because if you don't discuss the elephant in the room, it gets destructive.
Yeah, I think to me, the lead to that is around that aspect of elephants that most people have learned is around their memories. And elephants have great memories. They will revisit sites of where they lost one of their herds over many years. They will revisit places. They will know where to go when the rain falls. They will know where to go when it doesn't fall. They have a strong community, a strong matriarchy, bringing up, protecting their young. There's a lot of good things that there are in that herd of elephants and how it leads, how it develops. But the memory is an interesting one because you take memories, and that's a good thing. Memory, it's as we get older, our memory gets a little bit more hazy, and we wish I could remember. What day is it? And elephants do have great memories. I think pretty sure that's been proved scientifically, and it's certainly been proved by just objectively watching them. But the memory thing can also be a restriction on a business. Because it's great to have corporate memory and remembering, actually, we don't do that because, that didn't work last time. Yeah. But I came across on social media fairly recently a video that Roger Federer posted. And he was talking, I think it was at a university. I think it was a US university, and he was being awarded an honorary degree, and he was talking to the students on graduation day. And he talked about some of the stats from his playing career. And Roger Federer, to me, is the best tennis player I've ever seen live. Just a class individual who plays the game beautifully. And there are many great tennis players there. But what he talked about was he asked 2 questions of the audience. Do you know how many games I won across my career? Obviously, people guessed, and the answer was around about 80%. So he won about 80%, and he lost 20%. And then this is the stat that got me. And he said, well, across my career, do you know how many points I won? And the answer was 54%. And he said, so I lost 46% of the points that I played across my career. And, I'm very happy with my career and all the Grand Slams I won, etc. But what it taught me is, but when there's failure, I've lost a point. I need to move on. I need to learn from it, and I need to move on very quickly. Because if I take that failure and I dwell on it, I'm going to lose the game. And if I dwell on losing the game, I'm going to lose the set. And if I lose the set, I'm going to lose the match. So therefore, he developed a way of thinking, which was memory is great, learnings are great, but actually learning to forget, take the learning and move on is equally important at the right time as well.
Is this where you break into song Elsa from Frozen? Let it go.
No, I'm not going to.
Oh, shame.
A microphone.
Yeah.
I do have a microphone. There's an opportunity, isn't there?
But there's something really empowering in letting go, right? Let it go, move on. Yeah. You can't carry that into next week, next month, next year. Let it go.
Yeah.
Learn, let go. It's a good segue. Do we want to talk any more about elephants? Do we feel like we've exhausted that analogy? You got any learnings?
Yeah. What are the learnings? So
the what's.
Yeah.
So what's?
You've got that. I guess it's that development of the herd. It's the memory, the experience. Don't undervalue it. Absolutely, use the experience. Of what works, what doesn't work, what have you tried, what haven't you tried yet, in order to enable the business to try things differently going forward or to continue to do the things that work well. There's the way it's led in terms of elephants. There's strong leadership, but there's also a strong team around them, around the leaders, and there's a good hierarchy of the young coming through and learning as well.
Mainly female hierarchy.
Yes, mainly female hierarchy. Yeah,
I learned elephants the males get kicked out.
They do indeed.
Awkward.
And I think that reminds me that lesson of when the male elephant is in must, looking to reproduce. They don't always make great decisions. And you see many videos on social media where you've got male elephants who are ripping up trees, as you say, attacking cars, turning over cars. And they are very aggressive. They see what they want, they go after it, and they're very reactive, and they strongly react to anything. So the learning there is, don't make decisions when you're in a certain state of mind.
Yes.
Sometimes you need to sleep on things, take a breath. Don't always react emotionally. Try to not do that. And I guess that's part of what we're trying to bring to the table, is that independence, that objectivity, that
remain neutral. Remain calm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep calm.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm not sure that reaction is going to get you where you need to go.
And to Kim's point, keep your ecosystem in balance, because any form of dominance is gonna upset the apple cart. It's another analogy there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Yep. Should.
We've got 2 to get through.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Can we talk about the chubby unicorn?
The rhino.
The rhino.
Everyone loves the rhino.
Yeah, the chubby unicorn. And actually one of the facts that Sam had shared, your sister had shared, was that they live differently. The white rhino and the black rhino lives differently. I didn't know that. Can either be like lone wolf, solitary creatures, or live in herds, which I was amazed about. I didn't know that the animals...
Slightly smaller herds than buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah. But I really like the unicorn analogy, because we talk all the time, don't we, about finding unicorns.
Yeah,
we've talked about this in our, in the things we've written for LinkedIn, the articles we've written for LinkedIn, but we've also talked about it internally. I often think businesses are now under so much pressure, especially financially, because markets are not great, potentially. They might not be succeeding. Therefore, they need to make decisions about hires or people and looking for perfect solutions. So I suppose it's not so much of an analogy about how they live, rhinos, but more a case of calling them a unicorn, a chubby unicorn, and what a unicorn is for business, right? So should we start there? Looking for perfection, maybe. What do you call perfection?
perfection is the enemy of good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. We see so often in a number of the clients that we work with, and what we're trying to encourage a slightly different thought process is don't wait until it's 99% there and then go earlier, because you will learn on that journey, whether that's 80%, 70%. You can decide. It depends how important it is, how much risk is attached to it, how much income is attached to it, or cost is attached to it. You may say, actually, it's 51% ready. Let's go. But equally, if you're launching a space rocket, it probably needs to be closer to 100%. So it really depends on what your service
what you're building
is.
and what you're servicing.
What are you trying to do there? But I think
how public your crash might be.
But perfection, can be around your products, can be around your services, can be the talent that you're trying to hire. It's like, I'm not going to hire that role until I find that perfect person, and a year later you're still looking for that perfect person. And there's risk attached with not doing, there's risk attached with doing, and I think it's just weighing that up. And I think the observation that we made when we talked this through was that a lot of entrepreneurial businesses will err on the side of waiting for it to be closer to, probably too close to being the 100% solution, when actually a 90, 80, 70% solution would be good enough to actually get some momentum, get some movement forward. And as you get that momentum, you will learn and things will change. We talked earlier about what's changing around us, whether it's technology, politics, tax, whatever. So what you need now may be quite different to what you need in 6 months, 12 months, 3 years' time. To me, there's zero point in trying to look for that perfect solution that fits the mold right now, because that need is going to be different anyway.
Yeah.
It's going to be different tomorrow. It's going to be different next week, next month. So I guess the learning that our observation is that there tends to be a tendency to try and hold on and drive towards perfection. And perfection is not always a bad thing. Quality is great, but perfection can be the enemy of good. And sometimes good is good enough.
It's good enough. Yeah, you're so right. And actually, the inability or the desire to not make the wrong decision and then therefore make no decision, that's the worst decision. Make a decision. To Roger Federer's point, if it turns out to be a point lost, you're moving on, right? And you've got to learn and move on. And I think we see that procrastination a lot in business. We see people really fearful because resources are tight. The environment's changing. What decision do you make? Because it's got to be right. I've only got a finite amount of resources. And that really, I suppose, is about where we come in and handhold and say, make a decision. It's okay to get it wrong. It's okay to fail. This might not be the best idea, but no idea, no movement.
It's even worse.
It's even worse. Yeah. And you're not going to evolve. You're not going to change. So I think we talked a lot, didn't we, about trying to find your unicorn, whether it's a real unicorn or it's a rhino chubby unicorn. But you might not find it, or you might find it where you're not looking, right? But you won't if you're not on the move. We also talked yesterday about a unicorn valuation. We talked about in old money terms,
the $1 billion organization, the enterprise value, and it's some people are looking to create unicorns. They want that $1 billion valuations, but most are not looking. That doesn't define success for them. And I think the takeout there is be clear on what success is for you. If you're an owner in a business, a key stakeholder in that business, what does success look like for the business? What does it look like for its people? What does it look like for the shareholders? What does it look like for the staff? What does it look like for its customers? What does success look like in that? And that might be purpose-driven. It might be charitable. It might be valuation-driven. Yeah, we must get that $1 billion valuation, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be that. But I think, to me, the learning is clarity. And if you're going on a journey, then you really want a sat nav that gives you the options around how you can get there. But if you don't have a clear destination in mind, it's very difficult for a sat nav to give you a route.
Well, Kim's got a good saying for that, haven't you, Kim? With the you have to put the words here for me, fill the gaps, but a strategy without.
Oh yes, a strategy without a plan is a dream.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. You pointed out today, a strategy without a plan can be a dream or a nightmare.
Yeah.
So you pick which one. Yeah, actually, you need a plan. You need a plan.
You do need a plan. And actually, I suppose, you talk about the $1 billion valuation or £1 billion valuation, right? And I think there's a lot of perfectionism caught up in the way we live our lives, right? On social media, and we see these hugely successful businesses. We see huge amounts of money being made. We've got our first trillionaire in the world, and we are all striving to be successful, but success comes in different ways.
Mm. I listened to a podcast the other day, and it was a lady that was being interviewed, and her background was she actually studied generations and behaviors of generations, and why, a lot of people actually employ her to come into businesses and solve people issues. I'm an owner and I'm, in X generation or whatever, and going, I don't understand why my team doesn't get my language. Why don't they, work as hard as I worked? Why aren't they doing the things that I did when I was their age at the start of my career? And it was all of this real insight that she provided around the different generations that are in the workplace at the moment, and how, what each generation effectively wants from their career. Now, go back, even if you go back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you have even longer, you have the story that your parents told you. You need to finish school with good grades. You need to go to university and study something. You need to be something like a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, something. And then you can buy a house and a car and go on holiday and. And how the world has evolved and shifted across the last few decades is that used to be the dream, and that used to be the roadmap to get to where you are as a teenager, to where you possibly want to be.
Define
because
success, yeah.
Define success. But today's world, success looks different. Maybe people don't want to own their home, and also the average salary nowadays, you can't buy a home. You can't have a car and a home and go on holiday and have a one-income household. Exactly. So, when we were speaking about, a unicorn business being that valuation at $1 billion, my counter to that was, is the unicorn of a business defined as $1 billion outdated? And is there a new era and a new world that the unicorn business looks different? And I think that ties really nicely into giving business owners, leaders of businesses, the opportunity to define their North Star. What is their, unicorn? Who or what do they want to be in today's society and in today's community? How do they want to contribute to those that show up at work? What is that unicorn or that North Star for them? And then how do you execute that? And how do you actually get a plan in place? So you have a direction of travel, but you also know, do you need a boat? Do you need good walking shoes? You definitely need water. You probably need good food.
Torch.
You need a torch. You need a fire because you're going to be camping somewhere and shelter. You need all of these things to go to your North Star. But if you don't know if you're hiking a mountain or you in a boat and you're rowing, you actually can't build your plan. So it really is about understanding, what is my North Star? What is the unicorn of the business world today that I want to create? And how do I get there? And how do I bring my leadership team on that journey? And how do I cascade that down so they know what part they're playing in that journey? That gives everybody a sense of purpose, and also you attract the right people to your business. I believe in that North Star. I believe in the role I play in that. I'm going to stay.
I think defining the new unicorn is a brilliant challenge for any business. And you can then shape what you want and build what you want, and it doesn't have to be what everybody else has got or claiming they've got. Success comes in different forms.
The final thought on rhinos is that people who've studied rhinos know that their sight is very poor. So rhino sight, they can't see you until you are close up. And when you bump into a rhino, they react very aggressively.
How dare you be here?
Yeah.
Where
the hell did you come from? So again, it's that analogy building what you're saying there, Kim. It's that foresight. Don't be the rhino. Be a rhino who's got the glasses on, can actually see where they're going.
Big lenses.
Yeah. and again, it's we're often going into businesses who are brilliant at what they do, but they're focusing on the here and the now and the today and the tomorrow. And we look to encourage, it's like, let's raise the horizon a little bit. What's going to happen next month, next quarter?
We're going to be your challenger, your coach. Let's talk about how we get you.
Yeah.
We get you there.
What does define success?
Yeah.
And how we're going to go there, and what's the plan, and what are the alternatives? Yeah. What investments is that going to require? What risk mitigation is that going to require? So let's not be short-sighted and just reactive, just because we've got a load of armor on our back and think we're indestructible.
And some horns up front.
Some horns up front, hopefully.
With a uniform.
But I think that analogy of the rhino and a business and what a business can learn from the rhino is really important around that North Star. What does success look like for you? Yeah, and how can you plan and have foresight to get there?
That's great. Great segue. We've only got one left.
Yeah.
And it's the leopard, and we left the leopard till last because it's elusive.
It is very elusive. The rhino wouldn't spot the leopard, that's for sure.
No. It's a very majestic animal, but you've both got real experiences of what seeing this animal in real life is like, and some of the learnings we've got there. I know you've both got quite a lot to say on it. I think, Kim, let's start with you, because you've actually camped out and had the leopard next to your tent.
Yeah. So, heaven alone knows how late it was at night. All I know was the entire campsite was asleep. And this particular holiday, we had one of those permanent tents. They're quite thick canvas, but they are canvas nonetheless. And I distinctly remember sleeping and something had woken me up. And when you have very intentional footsteps, so whether anybody who has, somebody that's sleeping around them, whether it's a partner, a parent, a child, and you try not to wake them. So you tiptoe. You take your shoes off, when you get into the door and you tiptoe where you need to be.
Steps.
Yeah. And it really is like that in the wild. I distinctly remember hearing almost footsteps in and around the tent. And I thought, there's only two things that would do that. One would be a human and two would be a predator. And actually, I don't know which one would scare me more right now. And before I knew it, my brother and one of his friends were sleeping in the tent next door. And I heard their zip, zip, and their flashlight go on. And I went immediately, do you guys know what that is? Don't worry, it's a leopard. And I went, okay, at least it's moved away. But it made me reflect a lot actually about predators in the wild and how that can translate into risks in the workplace. And a lot of the time, we don't see them.
Don't see them coming.
We don't see them coming.
Come at night.
We don't hear them. We're focused on other things, whether that's sleeping, whether that's, too busy cooking around the campfire and they're actually lurking around. The interaction, that's the one interaction of a leopard I had. The other one is they pull their kill into trees.
Yeah,
so
I didn't know this. This is a fun fact for me. Didn't know that they pull their kill when they've hunted and killed.
I saw that a couple of years ago.
They take it in the tree.
Where the leopard, because leopards they live in solitude usually. So they're solo animals. They're not like some of the herd animals that we've been talking about earlier. They know their strengths and they know their weaknesses because they're able to make kills. They can jump out of trees and make their kill. They can make their kill through stealth. But what they realize is that other animals know that. Their competitors learn this about them. And one of the weaknesses of a leopard is their solo attitude to life. And therefore, if they pick up a severe injury, they can't eat. And if they can't eat, they die. So if they get into a fight and they lose the ability to use one of their feet or whatever the injury is, if it stops them hunting, if it stops them getting to water holes, then they will not survive.
That's a critical problem.
And therefore, they've learned to adapt. And part of their adaptation is to make the kill quickly and then drag it up a tree where the majority of their competitors cannot get up. And then they can enjoy their kill there. And what I witnessed was a leopard made a kill and the hyenas became aware of this very quickly. And hyenas are pack animals. And hyenas are dangerous to leopards because they have a very strong bite and they can disable a leopard. And so what we witnessed was the leopard dragging the kill up, a small antelope, up the tree to a point where it was 10 feet off the ground and the hyenas were circling around the tree. So there were 4 or 5 hyenas circling and they just sat there. Basically said, well, you got to come down at some point and you're probably going to drop some of that. So we're going to wait here. We can't get up there. So it was an amazing standoff and we were there for about an hour just watching it interact. And the whole time the leopard says, well, I'm safe. I realized that I couldn't make my kill and stay on the ground. I had to move. I had to adapt. I had to go up the tree.
Well, you also said yesterday that you'd seen them give up kills, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. You've got a very strategic thinker in that animal, and everyone's going, "What do you mean strategic thinking when you're giving up a kill?" But
yeah, absolutely. It's if you make the kill and you realize your choice is to continue eating for as long as you can, but the risk is that I'm going to get into a fight and possibly disabled, and therefore not to be able to make a kill again. You got a split second decision, and the decisions that I've always seen in that circumstance is the leopard will give up the kill, will run away, walk away and say, you have it. I'll move on. So what's the lesson for business? You need to know when to move on.
Give up. You need to give up on something.
Yeah.
Power of no.
The power of no.
Spoke about the power of no.
Yeah. And so if I suppose we finished on that leopard because ultimately it's such a strategic animal. It's a strategic thinker, and that strategic thinking is primed it for survival and to thrive and to move and to go to kill another day and to drag something else up a tree another day. But there is always another day and there's always another kill, but not if you're badly injured or you have no ability to hunt. And I think that for me really resonates across business, right? Having strategic thinkers, strategic leaders, knowing where your icebergs are, knowing when to deviate, knowing when to stop, knowing when to say no. All of those things are really, really important.
Or knowing when to go for it.
Or knowing when to go for it.
There's an opportunity there. Go for it. And I think that's what we're trying to do with our consultancy is to give confidence. Give confidence of when to go for it and confidence when to say, whoa, wouldn't go there. It's too dangerous. Yeah. We've seen that, or we know what's coming down there. Our experience, our knowledge in this area is to help provide that support, help to be a team member, giving coverage around blind spots.
Clarity.
Yeah.
Clarity is a great gift to give people. And I think that's clarity and confidence, isn't it? To be able to do those things. But so have we finished off with leopards? Have we got anything else we'd like to say? Are we done with our big 5?
I think so. I think there's so much to learn from the animal, and that's just 5. How many different types of insects, animals, plants could we learn from? There's so many.
Do the small 5 next time.
Do the small 5. Why not? Yeah, I'm a huge fan of David Attenborough, and I love the way that he's brought nature into the home and learned so much from that. But I think, to me, I love that overlap between nature, what works, what doesn't, your strengths, your weaknesses. What can you take into your business? What can you take into your personal style, your leadership style, how you onboard your team, how you work with your team, how you delegate, how you learn your own personal strengths and weaknesses, as well as your organizational strengths and weaknesses. And when do you need to change? When do you need to do the same? All of that is in nature, and it's within those big 5 that we've just talked about. And I think those leaders that are able to reflect objectively about their business will do well, because they'll be thinking about what's coming, not what has just been. They'll think about the assets that they have, both their people, their resources,
their ecosystem.
What have I got at my disposal Where do I need to invest to have more assets, different skills, different experiences, different capabilities? What do I need to achieve success, and what does success look like? And has that changed? When I gave birth to this business, success may be quite different to what I'd like success to be going forward. And when I say that might be multiple people. It's not just about one person, but quite often there's a strong entrepreneurial leadership which will drive the culture, which will drive the direction, which will drive the speed of our organisation.
And I think you're right. Change is not a bad thing. It's often a great thing. But adapting to change can be challenging, can be difficult, but it can always come with great opportunities. And we're living in an age now where technology is that pace of change is only going to get quicker, right? So the old playbooks potentially aren't going to work. So we need new playbooks. We need to look at new ways to adapt and to thrive. So I think we've done it. We've done the big 5. We really hope that you've got something out of that and that it's, engaged you in a way that, you'd think we were going to get engaged by 3 accountants around the table talking about stuff. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you've got a comment about this, if you've got anything you want to say, you can either do that in the comments section, or you can come and have a look at our website and get in touch with us there.
Have a coffee with us.
Have a coffee with us, or a beer. Or a beer. Coffees, beers, wines. We're open to all beverages. We're not limited. But get in touch and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks ever so much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.